Hey, welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, it's that special time of the day that I love, right before sunset, and just show you what I'm looking at. So we're out over this work area, which is the actual porch. Oh, there's the sunset soon to happen, and there's a beautiful view of the hills. But what I actually came out to do was to do an update on our extension. We've done a lot of work on the extension, a lot of design went into this, a lot of building, thanks to our friend James, who did what I asked him to do. Any drawings that I did, he was able to do it without any hassle. So what he's been doing today, he's been working on our bathroom for the extension. So there we are, it's all fully skinned in plywood with a crown moulding of sorts, a picture rail of sorts, and a chair rail of sorts. When I say that, I mean that they're not off the shelf. They're what we thought out that we could do with the moulding that we had, and cutting chunks off our block ply, which has actually worked very well. We've used a half round, which has proved to be like a closely guarded secret because it works so well, and yet I don't see it being used much. But anyway, there's our mirror, and we used, let me show you what we used. We used a little LED strip light for some backlighting, which was an idea that I pinched along with a lot of other ideas from Alturas, where in one of the CRs there, they have a mirror like this, and it's backlit, but it's backlit with a much more expensive. This is a cheapo thing. Only cost about, let me see, I think these cost $2.50, so $5. So for $10 I backlit this, whereas actually if I'd gone with the kind of lighting that they had, which was in a strip and which had tiny LEDs about as big as my pinky, and the whole strip down, which backlit it much more beautifully than this, but we're not going to complain. So I've got the shelf in there. One thing that we do have to do now, apart from little patching in, a lot of which you've already seen James has done, but we're going to do this a little differently. I'm going to make that so that the fan is inserted with nothing showing around. I didn't like the way that the cable is showing, even though it goes up there and is shown there, but still I preferred it to be done differently. We'll work something out that's different, and I'm going to work out what I would call, being a Brit, I'd call that a skirting board, but we're going to put a baseboard in. Now before we put that in, we will paint it with epoxy, an epoxy mix that the boat builders use here, and it holds out against the water pretty good. We'll give it some heavy duty paint cover with that stuff, and I'll show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like. So marine epoxy, it's a two-part mix. Obviously mix it together and then you paint it. It goes off very hard. It's a complete skin. So here's what will be the baseboard, and it looks like I might even have a little bit left over to do my for this. I don't like this little desk. We'll give this to one of the students. I'm sure they'll be happy to have it, but I'll make up a different unit which will come in and across at the back and be fixed to the wall, and it will need a baseboard, part baseboard on it as well. So I'm going to do some drawings later and do a design for that. But looking at some of the work that I did for Modern Props, and I was given a very nice design for a console which you can actually see on Modern Props, but I have some pictures which I thought that I would, I've either posted already or I was thinking of posting, and I'll utilize that design and change it slightly so that it can work for me as a desk there, more as a storage unit than a desk. I've got a desk to go into this corner here, which will be for doing some design work perhaps while I'm out here. I really want to use this room a lot because even now it's actually quite cool in here, and we don't even have that fan going, whereas in the house, in the red house, it really is hot. So looking out here, with the amount of work, I was really surprised, very pleasantly surprised, when I looked on Facebook, and Facebook very kindly, actually I quite like the way that Facebook will give you a reminder of this is where you were, say 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and we looked at where we were at the start of the pandemic, and that's when we started to do those series of videos where we showed what we were working on, and we called it the Quarantine Madness Project. Well, during that time we worked on our guest house, which you're looking at. Let me see, where's our guest house? That's there, right? That's the red house, that's where we live. This is the extension, which is officially is our workshop. That window there with a cross brace still left on is the window into our kitchen, or one of the windows. And I'm just looking, and I have to say that right at the very start of that project, where we started to work on the house itself, the deal that I made with Beth, I said I'd like to build a cement block house here, and I really wanted to do that because I wanted to incorporate this house here, this building, which is the office. I wanted to utilize this porch that I'm sitting in, and this porch would be the entrance to the house, and then the house itself would have been between here and the pool deck. So there's the pool deck over there, our little pool, which I'm sure you've seen at some point. It's 15 by 15. We get accused of having an Olympic swimming pool, which is a slight exaggeration. But anyway, we would put the house in between this porch and the pool, and so we'd cut into the pool deck, maybe extend the pool deck a little bit to include the house, part of the house, and that's what I wanted to do. Beth is a very sentimental person, and she couldn't bear the idea of moving out of our little red house. She also feels the same about our little red truck, which is why we labour on with that little truck and keep fixing it, and it needs to be fixed a lot. We're hoping that we've done a pretty good job of it this time, but time will tell. So I'm closing up as I go here. But when I look at the amount of work that we've done in here, and especially in the house, I realize that that actually we could have a full house out there. We could have a house out there, a cement blocks house, which would be totally different. But we're good in here, and I'm not unhappy that we fixed this up. We didn't have a kitchen at the time. We didn't have any of this. We didn't have, I think we may possibly have had the breakfast bar, but I'm not sure. But none of this was up and dressed in any way. None of it was painted. It was like a shed, as some of our haters have called it, a shed. But if we hadn't done all of this, then we couldn't just walk away and not walk away, but use this as our office, because this is what Beth has commandeered. This is where Beth sits. She's out at the next house project that we're doing, but this is what we actually do, and I sit here. A lot of the time I'm over here in my love seat with the tripod up there, and that's where I do most of my videos. So that's our update. I'm on my own because Beth, as I say, is out doing a look over at that steep, it's a mountainside project. All of the materials have to be carried up a very steep and difficult path, which certainly I wouldn't be silly enough to be doing. Okay, so we actually bought a couple of fans, which we haven't done much work in this part of the house for some time, but we bought a couple of fans. There's one there and one here, and they're oscillating fans. We're going to put one here because we often hang out here, and possibly might put one up there for ease of installation and operation. There's a plug there, so it would work very well and blow down into Beth's office. But at the moment we have this cumbersome getting in the way kind of fan, which we're using all the time when we're here. It could also go there, which would also be an easy one for hiding the cable down here to the point. There's only one plug point is needed for the TV. TV we really don't have on much these days, which of course makes me happy because I'm not a great TV fan. That's back to our cloudy day out there, but we haven't had any rain. It's been very dry. Looking forward to a great sunset. Come out here, as you see, it's a very simple kitchen. We do live simply, and that's going to be the sunset over there. I think we need to prune back some of these bushes because we're not seeing the skyline anymore. So I think we need to handle this garden. It used to look quite sparse with a load of plant pots, and now everything has just gone crazy with all that rain. That takes you down there to look at our little porch, and all the birds are very happy with the way that things are at the moment, though we could do without them living quite so close to us and let them go back to the trees. But anyway, that would be the porch, and we'd redo that roof. That would be the entrance to the house as I plan it, and that there would be the site of the house, and that would give us like a courtyard in here, which would be private. At the moment people can walk through here and maybe we could stop that. But that's a foreigner's idea, not one that Filipinos entertain. They don't think in terms of stopping people walking anyway. Well, I think time for me for a cup of coffee, and I'll be back again with another video whenever, and bye for now.